The truth is that physical intimacy can be one of the most beautiful aspects of aging, but only if it's approached with the right mindset and habits. Over time, our bodies change our hearts, hormones, and needs. If you're over 65 and still having sex, it's time we talk about a few things that most people won't say aloud. Sex isn't bad just because you're older, but many older people don't realize they're doing things that slowly harm their health and even make their partner feel more distant. Everything changes. In this video, we'll go over 7 things older adults should stop doing right now when it comes to sex and intimacy. Whether you're in a long-term relationship, dating again after a long breakup, or just trying to feel more connected to yourself and your partner, these insights can help you protect your body, strengthen your emotional connection, and build confidence in ways that truly support this stage of life. Stick with it until the end, because knowing these 7 habits may not only save you from physical discomfort or emotional confusion, but it may also help you rediscover something joyful and genuinely human that many people give up on too soon. At this stage of life, your heart health is at the center of everything, including your sexual health, and too frequently, it is neglected until there has already been a scare. This is the first major mistake older adults make when it comes to intimacy. They believe it is just about hormones, desire, or mood. I knew a man named Harold who was 76 years old and still had a lot of interest in intimacy. He was emotionally available, mentally sharp, and had a wonderful bond with his wife of almost 50 years. However, something had changed. He felt weaker and more easily tired, and despite his desire, his body didn't respond the way it used to. He blamed this on aging, as many of us do, but the truth is that his circulation had been slowly deteriorating for years, and no one noticed it in time. Good circulation is crucial for physical intimacy because it affects everything from blood flow to stamina to general responsiveness. When arteries begin to narrow, the heart has to work harder just to get blood through stiff vessels. Everything suffers, and this doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow buildup that is frequently covered up by excuses like "I'm just tired today," or "maybe I'm not in the mood." During a routine physical, Harold discovered that his blood pressure had been elevated for a while with no symptoms or warning signs until intimacy became challenging. His doctor explained that the same system that kept his heart strong was also influencing his energy, arousal, and the capacity to appreciate intimacy. After he started to address the problem, he saw a change in his physical and emotional well-being, becoming more self-assured and present while walking more, eating differently, and taking his medicine as prescribed. Many people are unaware that intimacy problems are frequently early indicators of cardiovascular problems. They are not to be dismissed. They are your body's way of telling you to pay attention. Even though the symptoms may manifest differently in women, the underlying problem is frequently the same: decreased circulation, hormonal changes, and cardiovascular strain. This feeling of dryness, discomfort, or disinterest may not be emotional. Rather, it may be your heart requesting assistance. If you haven't had your blood pressure checked recently, or if you've been avoiding that cholesterol panel, it's time, not because something is amiss, but because something is valuable and worth protecting. Harold didn't make many significant modifications. If you're in your senior years and you're still sexually active, or even just hoping to be, your heart health isn't just about longevity. It's about quality of life, about remaining strong enough to enjoy the things that make life rich, personal, and profoundly fulfilling. He didn't go vegan or run marathons. He just started walking after dinner and switched from processed snacks to fruit and nuts. He followed up with his doctor 6 months later, and his confidence and relationship with his wife were back on track. At this age, it starts with the number 2 heart using over-the-counter supplements without supervision once a week, even though the bedroom may appear like an emotional or hormonal environment. When things slow down and the body feels less responsive, the temptation to fix it with something quick and easy is strong. However, many people are unaware that these over-the-counter supplements, especially those targeted at sexual performance, can quietly do more harm than good. I hear from people who have tried new pills from the internet, bottles from the pharmacy shelf, or something a friend swears worked wonders. Most of these supplements promise increased stamina, energy, or a return to the kind of vitality they had at 30. Roger, 69, began taking a natural supplement he found online that he said supported male vitality. The label said testosterone support nitric oxide endurance blend, and the packaging was full of impressive words like that. He took it daily for 3 months at first, saying he felt like he had a little more drive or energy, but then his blood pressure spiked. He felt anxious for no apparent reason. He had trouble sleeping, and one afternoon he fainted while walking up the stairs. Roger was unaware that the supplement he trusted was interfering with his blood pressure medication, and no one was present to warn him. The product wasn't regulated, and its ingredients were a mixture of chemical compounds and herbs that sounded natural but acted like stimulants. The fine print stated to see your doctor, but how many people actually do so when making an internet or gas station purchase? Your liver function is slower, and your body is more susceptible to imbalances at this age. Your medications, if you take any, are carefully dosed to keep you within a healthy range because your kidneys work harder. Everything can become out of harmony if unregulated supplements are added on top of that, especially ones intended to improve sexual performance, without knowing exactly what's in them or how they'll interact. Many contain substances that increase blood pressure, thin the blood, or quicken the heartbeat, which alone can increase your risk of stroke, particularly if you already have atrial fibrillation or high blood pressure. Some include combinations of herbs that exacerbate adverse effects when taken together, while others contain prescription medications that are hidden and not disclosed on the label. His blood pressure stabilized, his anxiety subsided, and with some medical advice, he discovered healthier ways to boost his vitality, such as strength training, better sleep, and dietary adjustments. When he stopped using it and received help from his doctor, nothing flashy, nothing risky, just smart, sustainable changes that worked with his body, not against it. If you're thinking about trying a supplement, or if you already have one in your cabinet right now, pause before popping another pill. Ask your doctor, bring the bottle with you, get clear on what's in it, how it might interact with your prescriptions, and whether it's even necessary. There's no shame in wanting to feel your best, but as we age, shortcuts become riskier. The body is wiser, yes, but it's also more delicate, and the goal isn't just to function, it's to thrive in a way that's safe, stable, and rooted in truth, not advertising. Roger didn't stop being intimate. He stopped gambling with his health, and that shift gave him more than performance. It gave him peace of mind. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support enables us to keep producing quality content that will educate and motivate you. Let's move on to number 3, avoiding candid conversations with your doctor. One of the most common mistakes seniors make when it comes to intimacy is to keep quiet, not with their partners, but with their doctors. I can understand why for many of us, especially those who were raised in a different era, discussing sex with a healthcare provider feels awkward, private, and possibly even a little embarrassing. We assume that they will dismiss it, or worse, that there is nothing that can be done, but avoiding the conversation often causes more harm than the problem. I recall a woman named Carol, 73, who revealed that she and her husband had become estranged over the years, not because they didn't care about each other, but they both believed that a waning sexual life was inevitable, because they were both experiencing discomfort during intimacy, and neither wanted to acknowledge it. Carol blamed menopause, while George blamed age. However, this is the portion that really resonated with me. Carol had been seeing her doctor for checkups, managing her arthritis, and even controlling her cholesterol, but she had never mentioned the pain she experienced during intimacy, or George's struggles with arousal. When Carol finally brought it up, almost by chance, during a routine visit, her doctor wasn't shocked that she wasn't uncomfortable. In fact, she said it was one of the most common problems her elderly patients faced, and there were actually solutions. Carol started taking a non-hormonal remedy for her dryness. George was referred to have his vascular health examined, and the results showed a little obstruction limiting blood flow. Too many older adults believe that their doctor should no longer handle sexual health issues because they have a negative impact on their quality of life and can also be a sign of more serious health issues. However, one conversation was enough to make a difference and to mend their relationship, both physically and emotionally. Early warning signs of heart disease include conditions like erectile dysfunction, vaginal dryness,
or a decline in desire, hormone abnormalities, or diabetes. If you're seeing a new doctor and feel uncomfortable bringing it up, try starting simple. Can I ask you a question about intimacy? Or I've noticed something's changed, and I'm wondering if it's something we can talk about, is all it takes. You won't be the first to ask, and it won't be the last time you have an honest conversation with your doctor. It doesn't just improve physical function. It often leads to improvements in emotional well-being, relationship satisfaction, and even confidence in everyday life. Knowing you're not broken, knowing that there is an explanation, that alone brings relief. Numerous medications have adverse effects that impair sexual function: antidepressants, blood pressure medicines, and even some over-the-counter drugs. Your doctor might not be aware that you are experiencing those adverse effects if you remain silent. Restoring equilibrium may only require a little dosage modification or switching to an alternative drug. No matter your age, you deserve a healthcare provider who respects your desire to stay healthy in every sense, physically, emotionally, and intimately. That starts with a conversation. George told me that after his checkup, what he valued most was not a prescription or a diagnosis, but being seen and having someone listen without passing judgment. That moment made him feel human again, not invisible, not too old, just a man trying to live fully. Recovery. Don't allow fear to keep you quiet. It's your health story to tell, and doing so could lead to a more robust and satisfying life. Chapter 4 ignores diet and hydration. It may seem insignificant, but your daily food and drink choices have a significant impact on your hormones, circulation, and energy levels. 3 pillars that profoundly influence how you perceive intimacy. Many elderly people ignore the importance of diet and hydration in favor of more visible aspects like age, medication, or mood. But when your body is inadequately nourished, everything slows down, including desire and function. Frank, 71, he wasn't in poor health. He cooked most nights, walked his dog every morning, and even played golf twice a week. However, he frequently felt lethargic, and in his own words, wasn't up for much more than the necessities. He attributed this to aging, believing that he might simply be drying up inside. However, after consulting with a nutritionist at his daughter's insistence, he discovered that he had been severely underhydrated for years and wasn't getting nearly enough healthy fats. Zinc or magnesium in his diet are elements that have a direct impact on the creation of testosterone, blood flow, and nerve sensitivity. When your body experiences even slight thirst, your blood volume decreases, requiring your heart to work more to pump blood, and your skin becomes less elastic. When it comes to intimacy, your tense muscles and aching joints make movement difficult. Decreased sensitivity, in addition to sugar and processed foods, slower arousal, reduced endurance, and a higher risk of cramping or strain may not seem romantic, but it is real and entirely preventable for many seniors. Frank was unaware that the store-bought sauces he used in his cooking and the frozen meals he enjoyed were high in salt and other chemicals that raised his blood pressure and caused water retention. He was consuming what appeared to be typical food, but the majority of it was extremely low in nutrients. After making little adjustments, such as adding leafy greens to his plate in place of processed meat, and substituting grilled fish for processed meat, and drinking water throughout the day rather than only with meals, his body felt full but unfueled. His vigor, which he believed he had lost forever, returned gradually, not all at once. Additionally, there is the issue of blood sugar.
When you have a high-sugar breakfast, such as toast with jam, muffins, or even yogurt with added sugar, your insulin kicks in, your blood sugar crashes, and you feel groggy, agitated, and exhausted. This cycle repeats throughout the day, making you feel older than you actually are. But it's not age, rather it's instability, which affects your hormones, your endurance, and for women, your sense of connection to your body. Dietary and hydration impacts may be considerably more delicate. For example, estrogen influences lubrication and tissue elasticity, and diet can either help or hurt that equilibrium. Good fats, such as avocado and olive herbs like ginger and cinnamon, can increase circulation, while hydrating fruits like cucumbers or watermelon can relieve dryness. Oil and nuts can aid in hormone management, No one is requesting that you give up every indulgence or follow a flawless diet, but even the smallest decision adds up. A handful of almonds in place of cookies, and a glass of water in the morning. A vibrant plate as opposed to a bland one. These modifications not only improve digestive and heart health, but they also create the groundwork for confidence, energy, and alertness. Intimacy isn't about becoming a health nut, it's about giving your body what it needs to do what it was designed to do: connect, engage, and feel alive. Frank told me that after 2 months of eating better and drinking enough water, he wasn't just more active in bed but also happier in conversation, more willing to initiate closeness, and more receptive to new experiences. Please let me know in the fourth comment below whether you're still watching this video and find these insights helpful. Whether you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest doing so and turning on the bell so you don't miss any more videos. Your assistance enables us to keep producing quality information that will educate and motivate you. Let's proceed. The fifth, the rejection of emotional ties in your 30s and 40s. I once spoke with a couple, Howard and Marlene, who were married for 38 years and still loved each other, lived together peacefully, and shared meals, errands, and family gatherings. However, in the bedroom, there was a quiet distance, not rejection, not conflict, just absence. When they tried to talk about it, Marlene would say she wasn't in the mood, and Howard would dismiss it as just the way it is now. But deep down, both of them felt lonely. Physical attraction can carry a lot of weight, and passion often comes easily driven by hormones, novelty, and a natural hunger for closeness. The problem was not their bodies, but rather the gap that had gradually widened between their hearts as a result of the hectic schedule of raising children, taking care of their health, and coping with the stress of retirement. The outcome was predictable. Without that sense of emotional safety and interest, physical intimacy felt forced and became something they avoided, even feared. The irony is that emotional connection is what makes intimacy easier as we age, because it gives us a sense of security that we are wanted for more than just performance. When you feel emotionally close to someone, you're more likely to relax and express your needs, to be present rather than self-conscious, which is when real intimacy occurs for Howard and Marlene. After a straightforward shift, they began going for a quick walk together, which marked a turning point. Every evening, without phones or other distractions, they started asking each other questions they hadn't asked in years, such as what they missed, what excites them now, and what they need more of. Gradually, that emotional thread brought them closer together again, and without concentrating on fixing the bedroom, something changed there as well. They touched more, laughed more, and the intimacy returned. Not because they forced it, but because they fed the part of their relationship that had been starving. Many seniors believe that sex must look like it did in youth, or that it's not worth trying, but the truth is that what makes it meaningful now is different. Trust, emotional safety, and a sense of playfulness that comes from getting to know one another well are more important than urgency, spark, or proof. This is especially true for those who are dating again in their older years. If you've lost a spouse, gone through a divorce, or are navigating a new relationship, after decades of being out of practice, emotional connection can feel both thrilling and terrifying. You might find yourself holding back, protecting your heart, but the more you avoid being emotionally present, the more difficult it becomes to build physical closeness that feels good and real. If this resonates with you, take a moment to think, when was the last time you asked your partner what they are afraid of, what brings them joy lately? What part of their body feels most alive these days? These aren't just questions, they're doorways. When we step through them, we make space for more. Then physical connection, we create the safety and warmth that lets our guard down. Howard once told me something that stayed with me. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I had to perform. I just felt wanted, and that changed everything. That's what emotional connection does. It doesn't replace the physical, it makes it easier, fuller, and more joyful. Sex in your 60s, 70s, and even 80s isn't about what works perfectly, it's about what feels real, mutual, and safe. And that starts with how well your hearts are touching, long before your bodies do. Number 6, ignoring the role of sleep in recovery. Most people think of medication, communication, or possibly exercise when they consider ways to improve intimacy in their senior years. But one of the least discussed and most overlooked factors is sleep. I don't mean just getting enough sleep when you're tired. I mean the deep, consistent, restorative kind of sleep that allows your body to repair itself, regulate hormones, and stay alert and responsive during the day. You may not think that your sleep schedule has anything to do with your sex life, but the connection is deep. When you don't get enough sleep, whether it's waking up too frequently, going to bed too late, or waking up too early, your body starts to malfunction hormonally. Your nervous system becomes more reactive, your emotional regulation declines, and testosterone levels fall. All of these factors make intimacy more difficult. Not just Lester, a 75-year-old man who had been married for more than 40 years, still shared a bed with his wife, but his snoring had gotten worse. He would wake up 4 or 5 times a night, sometimes without realizing it. He felt exhausted during the day, found it difficult to concentrate, and lost interest in intimacy because his body was always in survival mode. When his doctor recommended a sleep study, Lester objected, thinking it was unnecessary and a bit dramatic, but after some persuasion, he agreed that the results showed moderate sleep apnea. After Lester started using a CPAP machine, his breathing stopped dozens of times an hour, depriving his brain and body of oxygen. Things didn't change overnight, but within weeks, he felt more energized. His memory improved. He started walking more, laughing more, and he started interacting with his wife more. Yes, his sex life improved, but not because he took a medication or had surgery. Rather, it was because he finally gave his body the rest it needed to function properly. Sleep has far more effects than we realize. It balances mood, regulates blood pressure, supports heart health, balances mood, and restores hormone levels for women, especially after menopause. Flashes of heat, men's irritation and dryness. Sleep disruption reduces testosterone impacts, endurance, and lowers libido. It's important to pay attention if you've been waking up exhausted, or if your partner has noticed that you snore loudly or appear restless at night. These aren't simply small irritations. They're indicators that your body is having trouble sleeping because of certain behaviors. These behaviors may appear innocuous, but they gradually reduce your energy levels by causing you to fall asleep in front of the TV, consume caffeine too late in the day, or drink alcohol at night to relax. Your hormones change, and you become less receptive and intimate with your lover. Others are the result of more serious problems, chronic pain, anxiety, or drugs that disrupt sleep patterns. If it applies to you, don't accept inadequate sleep. Instead, consult your physician. There could be easy adjustments you can make, such as modifying your routine, temporarily using a sleep aid, or treating an underlying condition, illness such as apnea, or restless leg syndrome. You deserve to get enough sleep so that you may be completely present in all aspects of your life, including your relationships. Sleep improves your mood, sharpens your thinking, and keeps you connected to yourself as well as to other people. Lester claimed that following months of restful sleep, he not only felt younger but also more alive and capable once more. He no longer feared intimacy or questioned whether his body would cooperate since he trusted himself, and that was the key. Please let me know in the 6th comment below whether you're still watching this video and finding these insights helpful. Whether you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest doing so and turning on the bell so you don't miss any videos. The 7th is expecting intimacy to look the same as it did decades ago. One of the quietest barriers to connection later in life is expecting it to feel the same as it did 30 or 40 years ago, to follow the same rhythm, have the same urgency, or match the same physical expression. When it doesn't, some people assume they've failed and that perhaps the best part of their lives is already behind them, but that's simply not true. In fact, intimacy that can occur after 65 when it's based on trust, tenderness, and presence is often deeper than anything rushed or performance-driven in our youth. What changes is not your worth or your ability, it's the shape of connection, and if you don't let that shape evolve, you risk missing out on something truly meaningful. I once talked to Evelyn, a 68-year-old woman who had just begun dating again after years of widowhood. She told me how uncomfortable she felt in the beginning because her body had changed and she wasn't as flexible. Her skin didn't react the way it used to, and she kept comparing herself to her younger self, feeling disappointed. However, one night, something amazing happened when she sat with her partner and said, "I'm not who I used to be, but I'm still me.
I just need you to go slower, and in that moment everything softened.
They laughed, held each other longer, and patiently explored what they discovered wasn't a return to the past but rather a new kind of closeness that was just as real. Too many people over 65 think that intimacy that doesn't involve penetration or follow a set script isn't valid, but the truth is that touch, eye contact, conversation, bed, and mutual exploration are all legitimate forms of connection that carry emotion, spark hormones, and awaken joy. Yes, it's acceptable to lament the things that have changed and miss the ease, speed, and simplicity of what once came naturally. But don't confuse change with loss. What you have now is an opportunity to connect in ways that are conscious, unhurried, and emotionally rich. This stage of life doesn't require performance. It invites presence. Intimacy isn't about being perfect. It's about being available with whatever your body has to offer that day. For couples who have been together for decades, this openness is what makes your partner feel safe, wanted, and close to you. This mentality shift can be especially crucial for men who are frequently told that their value is in function. If things don't work exactly the same way, the shame sets in quickly. Creating new expectations and letting go of old ones may be necessary to rekindle a relationship. Try hugging each other without any agenda and chatting about what makes you happy. You should be honest about where you are when you're starting a new relationship later in life. It's beautiful to say, "This is where my body's at, but I still want connection." You should no longer rely solely on memories to lead you. The most joyful moments I hear from older adults come from realizing that love still exists in their skin, voice, and hands, that closeness is still possible, and perhaps even more satisfying now because it's not about performance but about presence. When you stop chasing what intimacy used to be, you give yourself the freedom to experience what it can be now. And sometimes that version turns out to be more fulfilling than anything that came before. That kind of honesty is magnetic. It builds trust and makes room for both people to show up as they are. If you're in your senior years and still experiencing desire, curiosity, and a longing for closeness, know that you're not alone or broken. What you're feeling is natural, and that honoring that part of yourself can open doors to connection, healing, and joy that many people assume are no longer possible. As we wrap up this video, take a moment to think about everything we've covered today. What struck you the most, though, was the reminder to stop comparing yourself to who you once were, or the idea that nourishment, rest, and emotional presence matter just as much, if not more, than mechanics. If even one of these 7 points resonated with you today, I hope you'll carry it with you, not as pressure, but as permission to age with grace, to love with openness, and to believe that closeness still belongs to you. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Whether you're in a long-term relationship or exploring connection for the first time, remember that intimacy is maintained by the small decisions you make every day, such as getting rest, drinking water, letting go of old expectations, and letting go of them. If you liked this video and found it useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us keep producing quality material to educate and inspire you. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in the next video. Reading your comments gives us a lot of motivation and encouragement.